Yo, Elliot. Yo, so today we got a question from our bro, John Malley. Goes on to say, yo, Elliot, can you talk about muscle viruses in the hips and low back and muscular imbalances? Yeah, I could talk about it. It's a very non-specific question, so I'm just gonna give you a non-specific rant based on what I feel like saying about those issues, right? So there's a whole lot that we could talk about in terms of muscular imbalances as it relates to the hips, because the hips are like literally the center of the body, right? Like from the head to like your belly button and pelvic floor, and then from the ground up, it's like, that's why they call it the core, right? It's like the center of your body. And most of the imbalances that we have down below work their way into the hip, and most of the imbalances that we have in the hip work their way down and then back up. I mean, so if you screw up the center, everything else is gonna be screwed up, right? Imagine you have a tilted pelvis like this, and your head's gonna move like this, and then you can have neck problems, right? Or imagine you got one leg shorter than the other, and then you sort of fall to one side. It's gonna screw everything up, right? So it's a topic that you could become a PhD and talk a whole lot about. In fact, Stuart McGill, he's like the expert in low back issues and shit like that. And I mean, the guy he's a doctor, he's a professor, he's an author. It's a big issue. And it's one that most people don't really know much about because, money, right? Because you go to the doctor and the first thing they want to do is give you surgery. Even a lot of like the holistic health practitioners, they just want to help. They just want you to keep coming back to them. Hey, let me crack that shit. Let me stretch that shit. And come back tomorrow. Come back next week. Come back for the rest of your life. Let me crack and stretch. And so just to kind of shout him out a little bit more, Dr. Stuart McGill is all about how to correct those imbalances so that an athlete can get back to his game, right? So when it comes to the hip imbalances, right? There's frontal plane, right? Which is this way, this is the frontal plane, and there's sagittal plane issues, right? And there's transverse plane issues. I've spoken so much about the sagittal plane issues in like my videos for so many years. Go back to Yo Elliot 2013, and I'm talking about anterior pelvic tilt, posterior pelvic tilt, sway posture, tight hip flexors, tight low back, weak glutes, weak abdominals, lower cross syndrome. You can look up lower cross syndrome, all that stuff. It's become like almost common knowledge these days. Back when I was spitting it back in 2013, it was like I was waking people up like, wow, I've never heard that before. Now, like everybody channel has something about that, right? So it's something you can find a lot of information on, right? So why would I bother telling you all the stuff I told you before, and now everybody is regurgitating anyway? So let me tell you some, what do they call it when it's just your own story? Anecdotal. Let me tell you some anecdotal shit, right? People don't like anecdotal stuff because they want stuff that, if I have a lab coat on and a clipboard, they want that stuff. But I'm just a meathead with a tank top. So I'm gonna tell you some anecdotal bro stuff. So many of you know back in like 2017, I tore my right Achilles tendon. I tore my right Achilles tendon, and what that forced me to do was I had to wear a splint. I had my leg up like this on a thing, and I was walking with like a crutch. And then even for months after that, this side is weaker. So what ended up happening, I was like leaning into this left side. You don't notice it when you're doing it when you have an injury because all the focus is on the side with the injury, but the opposite side takes quite a beating. And so the whole left side was stabilizing me for months, probably longer, to the point where it has become a chronic stabilizer. It's been 4 years since I tore that, and my left side, because it's been a chronic stabilizer, is still giving me chronic problems. My right side is good, right? Because it was hanging out, resting. This side was taking up the bulk of the problem. It was helping me out with this side being weak, right? So it started overdoing it. And to this right now, right? You guys see me in my training vlogs, man, I gotta stretch the crap out of this side. I have to take my Theragun, I'm foam rolling this side. I'm doing all kinds of shit to try to get some tension out of the leg on this side, right? Oh, I have some cups. I think I'll do some cupping one day, right? They do like the Chinese thing, they put the like little cups and they suction it. Boom, boom, boom. I should do it all on my side here. So all this lets you know that I'm screwed up, man. I'm fucked up. and one of the best people to talk about how to get over being fucked up when people fucked up, and that's me. So I can tell you what I do. It's a strange thing when you get that frontal plane imbalance because of, say, an ankle injury. Because it can present itself as a leg length discrepancy. It could end up looking like you got one leg shorter than the other, but it's not a true leg length discrepancy, it's a muscular imbalance. And so I'm starting to walk around, I mean, not anymore because I take care of it, right? But you start walking around and feeling like, boy, every time I walk, it feels like one leg is shorter than the other. That's because all those muscles start to ball up, start to tighten up, and they pull that, they just pull up. It just pulls up in here. So I'm walking around feeling like this leg is shorter, right? So a lot of times I'm standing on this leg and this one's like hanging. Or I get on this one and this one's like swinging. And I'm like, what's going on here, right? Frontal plane imbalance. You know, there's a trick. Some people think they have one leg shorter than the other, but it's just a muscle imbalance. There's a trick. If you want to know if you have true leg length discrepancy, lay down on your back, right, and have somebody match your medialis, right? That's the little bone on the inside of your foot. Have them match it, right, and say that it looks like this. They look like little knuckles. And say it look like this. Boy, that's a little strange. One of them's higher than the other. Then you do this. Say your legs were out straight and he's doing that. It's like, wow, that looks weird, that looks weird. Put your feet on the floor, bend your knees, right? Bend your knees up. Lift your butt up, right? Have your butt up in the air, right? Just like you're doing like a bridge, right? So your shoulders are relaxed, knees are bent, butt is up. Have that person grab your ankles and count to 3, right? And when they say 3, go 1, 2, 3. When you hear them say 3, you drop your hips and let them pull your legs out. Boom. So what that'll do is it'll release all the muscles and then your legs will drop. And then if he matches it up and all of a sudden, oh, them knuckles are matching up. There's no longer one higher than the other, then you know that all the issues in that side that's quote unquote shorter is muscular issues. It's not like you have a shorter bone. But if you do that, try it a couple times, and it comes back and it's still one higher than the other, then you might have one bone, one leg legitimately shorter than the other. So leg length discrepancy, that's the title of this video. We're gonna talk about that, or that's what we're talking about. Hope that helps, dude. Done.